Hi, this is Catherine. This is Taking Tea with Catherine. Yes, I'm at that point where I'm drinking iced tea more often because I just can't seem to take it anymore with this summer nonsense. This is Watermelon Lime Zinger from Celestial Seasonings. One of my favorite of the herbals, and yes, very, very good iced or hot. So, I've been tagged on some tags here and there, but there are two that I'd like to do this week, one of which is more book related. So I'm going to save that for Tuesday. I usually do any of my bookish tags on Tuesday when I do a tag. So this one, though, that Steve Donahue has tagged the universe on, and I've seen a few people do already, is a 20 questions, kind of a random question tag, which is kind of fun because it just makes people talk about different things and lets you get to know them. So here we go. So the first question is, what's the nearest place to you that's so famous everybody knows it, and how near is it? Well, as you may know if you've watched this channel before, I live in New York City. I live in Queens, New York, but unless you come from the time period where you remember the World's Fair and everything that went with it, most people probably don't think of that when they think of what's near me. The airport, JFK Airport, is actually pretty far from where I'm at. So, not so much that. I would say probably the sites of Manhattan are more well known, for tourist purposes or just for knowing anything about where I live. And there are so many places you could think of when you think of Manhattan, but I think most people think of the Empire State Building. So, the Empire State Building, I don't know exactly how close it is to me, but it's I would say it's probably a half-hour subway ride, give or take, maybe even a 20-minute subway ride. I don't know. So, yeah, close enough. I could walk to it if I really felt like walking, but I almost never feel like walking that far over the bridge. And number two is, have you ever had a paper cut so bad? By the way, there's a fly buzzing around here. It's a little distracting. Have you ever had a paper cut so bad you thought you might die of it? No, but I've had some really bad paper cuts to the point that I felt like I was about to faint. You know, that sudden pain? It's like so shocking, you gasp, and you're like... And there's been times in my life where I've been a little more fainty. And, sorry, that wasn't very elegant. Let's try that again. I'm a lady. So, yeah, I am pretty prone to paper cuts, but let's hope that I never feel that bad. Number three, have you ever found anything genuinely valuable in a used book you bought? No. Occasional cards and stuff. Gifts, birthday, whatever people like to give to each other, books, right? So they put a little card in there, and sadly, some people will either die and that card will remain in there, or they'll just get rid of the books and not remember that they didn't hold on to it. Some people are not very sentimental, but it's not really valuable unless you are sentimental. I haven't found money. I found money in a library book once, but I didn't keep it. I was so honest. Number four, have you ever read, met, or married Jacques Barzun? So no, I don't think so. I don't remember reading Jacques Barzun, so that's off the bat. Definitely not married, and probably not met. When I say that, when I saw the name, I looked him up. Historian that died in 2012 in San Antonio, Texas, which was a year before anyone that I knew lived in San Antonio. So that, in that way, I would not have crossed paths with him. But he did live in New York at some point at the same time as me, so it's possible that we passed each other in the street. I highly doubt it, because by the time I was walking around the streets of Manhattan, for instance, he was pretty up there. So the short answer is no. Number five, aside from your pets, what is the specific non-human animal you see most often? And this is one of those depends, not like the depends that you wear. It depends on what I'm doing that day. So if I'm stepping out of the house first thing in the morning without looking out the window, I will either see a squirrel or a dog or a pigeon. because squirrels and pigeons are all over the place in the streets. But people are also walking their dogs very often, so I'll see them. If I'm not going out and I look outside my kitchen window, it depends on the time of day. It will either be a squirrel, a sparrow, a starling, or a cat, because there's a lot of cats that live outside that I consider myself friends with, but I don't think they feel the same way about me. Number 6. Have you ever been inside a cathedral? If more than one, do you have a favorite? Well, weirdly enough, where I work in Manhattan is pretty close to the St. Patrick's Cathedral. And I've never been inside of it. I have seen inside of it, like when you pass by when there's a door open. And when I've been to London, I know there's a number of places I have not been inside of. But I'm pretty sure many, many, many years ago when I went to Peru, I'm pretty sure one of the tours we did in Cusco was inside of a cathedral. I remember very little about it because, like I said, it's been about 22 years. So, yeah, it just seems like it was a cathedral, not like just a church. But that's how much I remember about it. And so I couldn't say it's my favorite, because I don't know. Probably if I was going to pick a favorite, it would be St. Paul's in London, just because I have always liked when I'm taking a walk east from the Strand onto Fleet Street, etc., and I reach that. It's a happy memory for me. But I don't really care either way. Okay, next question. Have you ever been actually seeing and hearing things delirious? I don't think so. I have had the occasional migraine where you get those visual distortions. So I see things that, not really there, lights or whatever, but I'm not really to the point where I actually believe it's real. Like, I think one time I saw someone when I was getting really bad migraines. I saw someone down the street right before it started, the headaches. It's like the when you know it's coming. And it was a person I've known for years, and they had a mustache. They don't have a mustache. They've never had one. I just saw a mustache on them because my migraine brain was doing some weird things. But no, I wouldn't say delirious. Number 8, do you have blood relatives who read for pleasure? Yes. So, as far as living blood relatives, the closest one is my younger sister. She reads a lot. She reads very widely, and we tend to read some of the same books every year, so it's kind of fun to talk about that. We spend a lot of our time when we are together at bookshops and libraries and just talking about our books, and on the phone. Anytime we communicate, it comes into the discussion. My other sister also reads. I don't think as much, but she's always been a reader. I have an aunt who reads, and a number of my maternal cousins read too. Probably, I do have family on my father's side who read, but I don't know them as readers. Like, you know what I mean? They may read a novel here and there, but I don't, I could be wrong. Maybe I just have not entered into that discussion with them. As far as non-living relatives, my father would read occasionally books. He was a very curious person. He liked to learn. But as far as leisure reading, mostly he would read like things like John Grisham type books. And my mother was a reader. She read a lot of, typical novels. I remember she liked Ann Tyler, and she went through a phase where she was reading Walden by Thoreau, which I still have to finish. And she took us to libraries and bookstores, so, And I know that my dad said that my grandfather was a reader. And as I have one of his books, and I have one of his sister's books who died a very long time ago, I know there was at least some reading going on, but that's about as much as I know. Which is kind of sad, but we really don't know, most of us, about our ancestors, even as far as grandparents sometimes. But yeah, I wouldn't say I have a huge reading family, but I am happy that I have readers in my family. Number 9, how many species have you smooched smack dab on the lips? I probably 3. I mean, at least humans, cats, but mostly on the nose, because I don't know if that's sanitary, but it's cute. And probably at least once one of my sister's dogs. I'm not a big dog person as far as they're very friendly, but usually if you come up that close, they want to lick you, and that's fine, but it's not smooching, not so much. But anyway, that's probably about it. I would love to kiss, horse like right here, but I haven't known any that I've been close enough to do so. The lips. Anyway, number 10. Do you ever listen to the radio and any favorite program or person? Not really. I do sometimes at night. I will maybe put on NPR because it knocks me out. And occasionally, if I'm up late enough and I hear it, they have a book discussion, so that's kind of nice. Still knocks me out usually. Or if there is a baseball game on, I might want to listen to it because that is just soothing to me. I'm not really invested in the sport like I used to be, but it still is nice to listen to. But that's as far as it goes. When I was younger, I used to listen to the radio a lot more. There was a number of different stations I could rattle off, but most of them are gone now. So that is that. Number 11, have you ever been to the Eiffel Tower, the Leaning Tower of Pisa, or the Louvre? I want to go to the Louvre so bad. I was in Paris once, and we went up to the Eiffel Tower. We didn't go up the Eiffel Tower. We went up to the Eiffel Tower. And that's it. Number 12. What little thing do you miss most that you've lost due to the pandemic? I think it's really just the few humans that I really enjoy spending time with, that I could just get together with and just go somewhere with, take a nice walk and go to the places that I would go to on my own anyway, but like bookstores, cafes, stuff like that, museum. I kind of miss that with other human beings, and even by myself. Like, I've thought about reading outside. I stepped really briefly into Central Park the other day when I stopped into my office, and I could have probably sat on a bench, but I wanted to get home, but I just don't feel that luxury that I used to feel, that I could just sit down and just spend time outside. I just don't feel it anymore, and I definitely don't feel it with other people, and I really think I miss I'm not even needing to go to restaurants and cafes all the time, but I just like the feeling of sitting there and just reading or sipping a cup of something. But I could live without it. Number 13, what little things do you miss least that you've lost due to the pandemic? And that also has to do with humanity, and it is the crush of humans and what it does to my senses. Like, I've had to ride the subway for my commutes most of my working life and school life, college life, and having to be stuck near a lot of people who don't seem to mind being stuck next to you is not fun. But also, just for me, I have a particular sensitivity to some sounds, but that's another story, but mostly smells. I pick up bad smells on people that other people don't, because even with bad sinuses, I pick up some, you don't have to have halitosis. You could just have normal stale breath, and I will pick it up and I will gag, and then I will start coughing because the gag triggered me, and that doesn't look good now, but it never looked good before, and it's just, it makes me dread when someone comes near me, because so often I will find something offensive about them, and I'm sorry. I don't want to be like that. It's just that I have some kind of processing issue with my my nose, and that's the one thing about the 2 times I've taken subway rides to and from the city in the past few weeks, that everybody's wearing masks, so that kind of blocks it a bit. So I don't, and just being home in general, the only time I have anything unpleasant to smell, I can take care of myself. The cat's litter box, for instance. You know what I mean? So, other than when people smoke and it somehow does pass through the windows and walls, but that is usually very not too often that I notice that. But so that I could live without forever. There are some benefits. I hate to say that, something that has caused tragic loss has some benefits, but you know what? You don't want to take advantage of other people's pain, but you also need to find the silver lining. Number 14, what's your relationship with small talk? Hate it like acid, love it, or merely competent? And I would say I'm merely competent. I am not a fan of small talk in general. I can engage people in the occasional how are you situation, but my talent when it comes to small talk isn't really a talent. It's just maybe culturally or whatever. I can whine about the weather with people, and that will keep you going in a quick conversation with anybody, you know. So that is like my only ability to practice small talk. Otherwise, I find myself in parties, gatherings, and dinners, whatever. I can't make small talk. I'll either be really quiet or I will start going off on a subject for a long time until someone kind of tries to give me a signal to like tone down because you're overeager, maybe you're TMI or whatever. And if I pick up on the signal, that's it. So usually I'll try to just be quiet until I'm comfortable with somebody. Issues. Okay. Number 15, have you ever won money at gambling? No, I do not gamble. I do not like the practice of gambling. I think it's pretty dreadful. And I've seen people who have really had their lives torn apart by addictions to gambling. And this is coming from someone who lost someone really close to them to alcoholism. So if I think gambling is worse, then yeah. But I will say, when I was many, many years ago a travel agent, and our coworkers, we usually knew each other's sales, the amount of our sales at the end of the week for some reason. And one of my coworkers saw my number. I don't know why. Decided to play it in some lottery, whatever, and won a little bit of money. I don't think I got any of the money, and that's fine because I didn't ask him to do that. But but that's the closest I've come to benefiting. And it wasn't me, it benefited someone else. But yeah, I don't believe in gambling. Number 16, do you ever give money or time to charities? Yes, but I don't really like to, I don't know, share exactly what I give, but I do occasionally. But it's not like one specific amount or place or time, so. Okay, so yeah, I do kind of. Number 17, do you craft? Knitting, crocheting, woodworking, pottery throwing. Not really. I tried scrapbooking for a while. It was kind of fun. Don't really do it so much now. I do a little bit of calligraphy, lettering, but not enough to really say that I do it in a crafty way. Barely cook, barely bake. I'd like to start knitting, and I've been saying that for 20 years, and there you go. So no. Number 18, do you talk to yourself when you're alone? And it seems to qualify that not really to your pets. But I have been known to talk to myself, and I'll pretend I'm talking to my pets. But I'm really talking to myself. I don't think there's a problem. I just think there's maybe not to overdo it. I don't know. As long as you know you're talking to yourself, then I think it's okay. Number 19, are you a social queen bee in college? No. No. When I went to college, which was a very functional college, very, means to an end or transfer to a different college kind of place. A lot of people, a lot of immigrants, a lot of older ones going back to school, that kind of thing. So it really was just going to get the credits and that's it. There was no social life. It was not really a campus situation. I commuted from home. Technically, I could walk to my school. And I still have, but I really had a problem interacting with people back then as far as tremendous social anxiety, inability to just like ask people, can I be in your study group at times where I really needed to, not even able to really talk to my professors when I needed help with something. I'm not saying, okay, not a complete recluse. I do recall occasionally going out to lunch with someone from my class or something. It did happen, but usually they initiated it, not me, or just maybe talking to the person sitting next to me, but otherwise I was extremely awkward, extremely not knowing what to do. Talk about the weather. So I was definitely not a queen bee in college, and I am not in any way, shape, or form in any life that way. I am an introvert with a lot of social issues. Some people will say, oh no, you're friendly, you're conversational, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I'm a good actress in a way. So, yeah, that's maybe a little too much information. Number 20, are you a sunrise person or a sunset person? I would love to be a sunrise person. About 6 years ago, I went through a jogging phase where I would get up really early and I had my new sneakers and I would go out and do a little run. And then I hurt myself, gave myself some kind of weird, painful Charlie horse where I couldn't walk for like a day. And it scared me, and so I stopped running in the morning. But I was also kind of nervous about, you know, being outside in a slightly empty area as a woman in the morning. So I just discontinued that. But I liked when I would get out and see the sunrise. It was a very pleasant sight. I do, though, I think I probably have seen a lot more sunsets, and I like them. Living where I live in New York, you don't really see a lot of sunsets, like, properly. When I've been out of town and seen a really good one, oh, it's beautiful. But yeah, if you may see like a little patch of a sunset on a beautiful day, and it's appreciated. And the next day you go on your social media, and everybody in your town has posted it online, a picture of a beautiful sunset, because it's like, wow, But yeah. So anyway, those are my 20 questions, and obviously, Steve has already done the tagging. So if you haven't seen his video, by all means see that, and consider yourself tagged as well. It's Catherine taking tea with Catherine. Have a lovely tea and question-filled day. Goodbye.